All right, good morning, eighth grade compacted math. Today we're going to be looking at 10.4. We started this a little bit on Friday, which was using square roots to solve quadratic equations. Okay, so basically, what you want to do when you're solving a quadratic using algebra and balancing equations is you want to get the quadratic to this form, which is x squared equals d, which is just some number. By finding, and then you can do what we were talking about on Friday, is you can square root both sides to find the solution. Now, some interesting things about once you get to this point. So obviously this represents a parabola. What it has x squared in it, you're making a quadratic parabola. So a couple things to remember in today's video reference. If d is bigger than 0, then it's going to have two solutions, and you'll have one positive solution, one negative solution. For example, if it was x squared equals 36, nice easy one, your solutions would be x equals 6, the square root of 36 is 6, and x plus or minus 6. So really, you could write that as x equals 6 or negative 6, so two solutions. Let's see what happens if d is equal to 0. So, well, that's obvious. It just has one solution, and it is 0. So if you think about it, x squared equals 0, square root both sides. X literally is just 0. That is your one solution. So your vertex would be somewhere, your vertex would be 0, 0, either going parabola facing up or facing down, but it would be there in the middle. Kind of looks like the Spider-Man symbol, sorry. And then if d is less than 0, then it has no real solution. So that we didn't talk about. So if you get x squared is equal to negative 4, okay? If you go here and here, you're like, oh, no problem, I got this. Square root of 4 is 2, but there is no such thing as a square root of negative numbers. It's not real. It's irrational. So just to prove that to you here, if I took my calculator here and I went and I put in, negative 4, and I press the square root button, which is right here, it's going to say, oh, it should just say error. Let me do that in my other calculator here just to prove it to you here. This is what it should say. I don't know. It said the E, but I was really looking for square root negative 4, right? Press enter. It'll say error, not real, okay? There's no real answer for that. So if you get a square root of a negative number as you're solving, then it has no solutions. And that parabola would just, as we talked about, it would never cross the x-axis at all. So that's no solutions. So let's go through our examples for today. And then we'll look at the guided notes and some checkpoints and some classwork. So for this one, example A, we're trying again to get x squared by itself, this part right here. So the first thing we're going to do is divide each side by 2. And you're left with x squared equals 4, square root both sides, and you're left with x equals what? 2, and the negative version of that, negative 2, because 2 times 2 is 4. Negative 2 times negative 2 is also 4. Example B. Okay, first thing I'm going to do here, trying to get that x squared by itself, I'm going to add 18 to both sides. I see where this is going. I get x squared equals 0. So square root both sides, just one solution, x equals 0. And example C. How predictable. Again, I'm trying to get x squared by itself. Subtract Tom Brady from both sides, 12 from both sides. You're left with x squared equals negative 7. Square root. That ain't nothing. There's no solutions there, so x equals no solutions. It's not real. Okay, moving on. Let's take a look at today's... Oh wait, some more examples. My bad. Example D, taking the square root of a fraction. So here goes. Solve them for x squared, divide each side by 4. X squared equals 9/4. Now this is convenient because when I square root both sides, those are both perfect squares. So I'm going to get x squared, I'm sorry, not x squared, just x equals, what's the square root of 9? 3. Square root of 4, 2. 3/2, but it's the positive version of 3/2, and it's also a negative 3/2. If you don't like fractions in this case, you're itching to change this to 1.5 or negative 1.5. So those are your solutions for x. Okay, so sometimes they don't come out to perfect squares, unfortunately. So what you have to do is just use your handy dandy calculator and round the answer. So first thing here, plus 11, plus 11. And remember, this method only works when you have no bx term, okay? You only have an x squared in it, okay? This is not, there's many ways to solve a quadratic, and this is a method that only works when you just have x squared. Notice how there's no, like, minus 11, or minus 11 plus 2x. There's no just x to degree 1, or term to the first degree. So 3x squared, as I was saying, equals 18. Divide each side by 3. X squared equals 6. Okay, I know there's going to be two solutions. Square root, no problem. X equals square root of 6. Well, actually, it is a problem because nothing times itself equals 6. So what you do is you use a calculator. You can use your phone if you turn it to the scientific. If you have an iPhone, to turn it sideways to scientific. So you go to make the square root symbol. And then what times itself is 6. It's a big, long decimal. It's irrational. Goes on forever with no pattern. I would round this to the nearest tenth and say 2.4. But again, it's not just 2.4. It's for negative 2.4 for that. Somewhat of a challenge, but really at this point in the year, this isn't too challenging. So we have x minus 4 squared equals 42. So this 6 is being multiplied by this whole binomial squared. So I'm just going to eliminate that 6 by dividing each side by 6. I'm left with x minus 4 squared equals 7. Okay. Now, how do you get rid of a square? Well, every time we have a square, we square root it. So you're going to square root this entire term. And if you do it to one side, you do it to the other. And you're left with just the x minus 4 equals square root of 7. I got to do that in my calculator. That's going to be second square root of 7. Yeah, if you have your graphing calculator, get the square root. You press second, and then the x squared has it. So I'll go second square root, and then I'm putting in 7. So that's going to be positive 2.6 and negative 2.6. Okay. So yeah, this is actually a challenge now that I think about it, because we're really not done. So it's positive 2.6 or x minus 4 could equal negative 2.6. So this is where our challenge comes, because now you have two different possible solutions. So if I add 4 to both sides, I could get 6.6. And then if I add 4 here to both sides, I actually get x equals 1.4. Okay, so again, that is a challenge. And again, it happens at this point when you take the square root of 7, you have two possible answers. You could, x minus 4 could equal 2.6, or x minus 4 could equal negative 2.6. So hopefully that makes sense to you. If you don't believe me, hold on, I think I can pop this. I'm working on two screens here. I should be able to put in something here for you. I want to show it to you in Desmos. I guess I can do that quickly for you. Oh, there it is, I think, underneath here. What is this? Yay, it's blank. All right, so if I go here, Desmos, and oh, cool, I think I can show both. I can show it to you with the equation in the background. So if I go here, and I put 6 parentheses x, hopefully this works, minus 4, close parentheses, squared, and then it said equal 42 right there. So I'm going to minus 42 on both sides, see if this works. I haven't done it like this, so I don't know if this will work. So that's technically what we solved. And you get, yeah, there are answers 1.4 rounded, and then 6.6 when you round to the nearest tenth. Yay, it worked. Beautiful. All right, now let's turn the page and we'll do some of the examples. And it looks like you're going to have checkpoints 1 through 7 to do as part of today's work. So let's go ahead and do that now. Sorry, I'm just trying to, some of my other screens bother me. All right, so continue with the guided notes here. I'll just enlarge this here. Okay, here we go. Using square roots again to solve. We're going to go a little quicker. So we'll do example 1 here, here, and here. Okay. First one, example A. In example 1, plus 5 plus 5, x squared equals 9, square root, square root. So you should get for A, z squared, that z equals 3 or negative 3. Everybody see that for example A? Okay. For example B, I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. R squared equals negative 3 square root, no solution. And so it even, it says there, negative numbers do not have real answers. I don't know what you want to put there. So there is no solution for that one. And then the next one here, divide each side by 25. K squared equals 9 over 25. Square root. And you're left with what? 3/5. But it's not just 3/5, it's 3/5 plus or minus, or negative 3/5. Cool. All right. So that's example 1. So now that brings you to checkpoints 1, 2, and 3 that you'll put on your Google form. Let's look at number 2. So now back to more like the examples. We're approximating solutions to the quadratic. So you're going to get a square root that's not an exact perfect square. Because as we know, life is not perfect. Sorry, that joke. Minus 3 minus 3. 4x squared equals 20. Divide by 4, divide by 4. X squared equals 5. So we're left with square root. X is the square root of 5. What is the square root of 5? I have no clue. So I just go to my calculator and I go 5 square root. It's approximately 2.2 or negative 2.2. So their solution is 2.2, negative 2.2. All right. Some more examples for you to do here. Checkpoints 4 and 5. And then we got that challenge problem here. Solve a quadratic. We can do it one more time because we're pretty awesome. Divide each side by 5. I like to show my work on these. So I'm left with x plus 1 squared equals 6. Okay. Now we're going to take the square roots of both sides. Square root, x plus 1 equals plus or minus the square root of 6. I feel like we did that already. Yeah, it's 2.4. Roughly, it comes out to like 2.4, not the, maybe 2.45 would be the right answer to put, but technically to the 10th, I'm going to put positive or negative 2.4. Okay, so I'm going to break that up into two equations. X plus 1 equals 2.4. X plus 1 equals negative 2.4. So if I minus 1 on both sides, one of my solutions is x equals 1.4. X is approximately 1.4. And then if I minus 1 here, x is negative 3.4. X is approximately negative 3.4. Yeah, and then it looks like it's doing it in the graphing calculator. And it's approximately negative 3.5, and that probably looks like 1.4. So we did it right. Yeah, the x-intercepts seem to be right. So that's our guided notes and our video reference for today. You're going to do checkpoints 6 and 7. I'll take a look at how long this video took you to watch and complete. Try to print this out, but if you don't print this out, literally just have some paper and pencil next to you and do it along with the examples I'm doing. So again, printing going forward is not as important or part of our life as it was the last few weeks when we were graphing. Talk to you guys Wednesday in our classroom for way back. Remember when Wednesday at HMS room 242. See you then.